Hey guys, it's Dale here, and this video is meant to be sort of a starting point for those who are about to start trading with order flow. When I first opened up the order flow all those years ago when I started to trade with order flow, I must say I was confused and I didn't really know what to do, what to look at, and what all those numbers on the chart said. I was simply lost because there was just so much stuff that I didn't understand. And if you are like this now, then this video is especially for you. Now, I'm not going to say that order flow is effortless because you'll need to give it some time and effort, but believe me, it's totally worth it. Order flow is a superior trading tool like no other. So let's have a look at it and let's start with the most important stuff that the order flow is showing us. Now, when you look at the order flow, then those blocks, they are basically candles where volumes are showed. Those order flow candles are called footprints. This is a footprint. In this case, it is a 5-minute footprint, which is 5-minute time frame, all right? Basically 5-minute candle with volumes in it. Now, there are two ways how the footprints can look, either this way or this way. Now you see the candles maybe more clearly. Those are the footprints. But what I actually prefer is the way it was before. So let me switch back to that. And the reason is that in this case I can see the colors and I can right away tell where heavy volumes were traded, like for example in this zone or this zone or this zone. This is low volume zone. Also, there are those green ones and red ones, depending on who was more aggressive, whether buyers or sellers at that given price level. So that's why I prefer to have the order flow like this. Now, if you look inside the footprint, let's have a look, for example, at this footprint. The left side is called bid and the right side is called ask. Simply put, all those volumes on the bid side show aggressive sellers. All right, that's on bid. And ask, all those volumes on ask show aggressive buyers. Now this gets a little bit more complicated because bid could also show passive buyers and ask could show passive sellers, but this video should be sort of an introduction to order flow, so I don't want to delve into this too much. If you want to learn more in depth about this particular thing, then head over to my website, which is trader-dale.com, and go to the videos section, and in here there's a video called Order Flow Bid versus Ask Explained. So check out this video, it will explain this more in detail. All right, now let me switch back over to the order flow chart and let's talk some more about the order flow basics. Now the next thing that I want to cover is all those numbers. Now, as I said before, all those numbers represent volumes traded at each price level. All right, all those. Now, what a lot of beginner traders think is that they need to read all those numbers, but that's not really true. You just need to know what to look for. The most important thing to look for when reading the order flow chart is heavy volume zones. With my order flow software, the heavy volume zones are printed in darker colors, like for example, this zone, all right, or this zone. So you want to look for those because they show you institutional trading activity. The volumes here in those zones are heavy, which means the big guys are trading here. So look for unusually big numbers, unusually huge volumes, and this is how you can track the big trading institutions, the big guys. Now, the most important place in any footprint is a high volume node. my software makes a black bracket around it. So in this footprint, that's that high volume node here, which I marked with the arrow. And this footprint, the high volume node, is in here. This is the place where the heaviest volumes in this footprint were traded. So this is the most important place in any footprint. You want to look out for that. Those are important. So again, as you can see, you don't need to read all those numbers. You just need to look for those particular things. Now, what I should mention is that every trading instrument has different typical volumes. So if you open up, for example, the Euro futures or the ES chart, which is futures for Standards and Poor's Index 500, then the typical volumes will be different. Also, typical volumes in different trading sessions is also going to be different. All right, typically Asian session means low volumes, and the US session or the European and US session overlap means massive volumes. Also, massive volumes are very usually traded when there's macro news. Like in here, this was macro news candle. As you can see, there were two zones where massive volumes were traded. All right, so look out for those. Look out for places with heavy volumes, as those are the most important places for the big institutional traders, which means they should also be very important zones for you. Now let's move forward and let's talk about the summary, which is below the chart. This is the summary, that table at the bottom. So the first thing in line is ask. Ask is a sum of all the volumes from ask in each footprint. So if you make sum of all those from this footprint, then it will show in here. As you can see, for each footprint, there's a cell below it, which shows the total ask. Very similarly, we have the bid in here, which is a sum of all the volumes traded on bid. So if you take all those, make a sum of it, then it will show in here. I hope you can see it. Okay, so this is where it shows. Now, what is very important is delta here, because delta shows the difference between ask and bid. In other words, and this is important, it tells us the difference between aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers. So again, if you compare ask and bid, then you get delta. You get the delta if you deduct ask minus bid. So 3,431 minus 3,739, it is minus 308 contracts. The number is negative, that's why it's printed in red in here, and it means aggressive sellers are in control in this particular footprint. As you can see, in my software, the delta also shows below the footprint, as I consider this information very important. All right, so this is the delta. If I simplify it, then it's the difference between aggressive sellers and aggressive buyers. If it's negative, aggressive sellers are in control. If it's positive, aggressive buyers are in control in that particular footprint. Now, the next thing is cumulative delta. Let me scroll the chart back to the beginning of the day. So at the beginning of the day, the first footprint, not really visible here because it's hidden behind the volume profile, but the first delta was minus 18. The next one was minus 20. So the cumulative delta is minus 38, right? Which is minus 18 minus 20. Then delta was 32. So it's minus 18 plus minus 20 plus 32. The total is minus 6. Then it goes plus 58, which brings the cumulative delta to 52. If you look at it like this, it's not really that easy to read and understand. That's why I have this on a separate chart, which is part of my order flow indicator spec. Let me show you how it looks like. Okay, let me enlarge it a bit. This chart, this is the cumulative delta, and you can see how it develops over time in a 1 minute chart. And this is information you can work with very nicely. I teach that in my order flow trading course. Also, I have a couple of videos on YouTube regarding this, so you can check it out. But let me now go to the next column here, which is total volume. And the total volume is all the volumes traded here, regardless whether it was bid or ask. So it is those volumes plus those volumes, and you get the total volume. Now, this is important stuff when you're looking for places where significant action and market activity was during the day. So typically this is during macro news. As you can see, for example, in this footprint, there were massive volumes here. This can tell you that this footprint is very important because heavy volumes were traded here, institutions were trading here in this footprint. So you better check it out, see what happened within that footprint, and possibly you can trade based on some information from this footprint. All right. So this is what the total volumes are for. And the next thing, it's hardly visible here because the NinjaTrader logo goes over that. But the last thing in here is cumulative volume, and it is the sum of the volumes from the beginning of the day. So as you can see, it's rising. And I must say this information is not really that important to me. I'm not really using this in my trading. But I'm showing you because the order flow software, no matter where you get it, usually has this information. So I just wanted to show you and tell you what it is. So now we've covered the summary at the bottom. The most important things here, at least for me in my trading, is delta, cumulative delta, and volume. The rest is not that important. So that's about that. By now, you've probably noticed that in the chart, some cells are printed in red, some are printed in green. If they are printed in red, for example, in here, this means that bid was bigger than ask, which means aggressive sellers. If it's green, then in those cells, buyers were more aggressive. Now, another thing which you may have noticed is those blue numbers here. Those blue numbers are called imbalances, and they tell us that one side of the market is way stronger than the other. In this case, those are selling imbalances, and they are telling us that at those price levels, sellers were way more aggressive than buyers. All right? That's why they are marked in blue, so they stand out and you can immediately tell. But this is just a feature of my order flow software. Maybe some other order flow software has it too, but I like to trade using those, so I have them in blue so they stand out. I like to trade those when they are stacked, like in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 imbalances stacked at top of each other. It prints like this. This basically means resistance. But again, this is also a feature of my order flow software only. Other order flow software may have it or may not have it. Now, another thing which I wanted to show you here is volume profile, which is printed on the left of the chart. This is the volume profile. My favorite tool. It shows the volume at price and it shows the big picture, which is very important when you are trading with order flow, because when trading with order flow, traders often get lost in details, in those small numbers, and they don't see the big picture which the volume profile is showing them. All right. In this case, it's showing us that there's important zone in here, important zone in here, and sort of a volume vacuum in here where very weak volumes were traded. So this gives you the big picture, which is so important in trading and which so many people just neglect because they focus on the small numbers and miss the big thing. So volume profile, very important thing. I recommend having this on your chart all the time. So I believe we've covered the basics of the order flow chart. I hope you guys liked the video. Obviously, there's way more to order flow trading. There are a lot of strategies which you can trade. My favorite ones are strategies where you combine order flow trading and volume profile trading. If you would like to learn that, then head over to my website. And on my website, click this button, which says Trading Course and Tools. And if you scroll down a bit, then you want to check out the order flow pack. It consists of my custom-made order flow software. That's the software which I showed you in this video. Order flow trading video course, where you can learn all my order flow trading strategies. And another thing which you are going to get with the order flow pack is my custom-made volume profile indicators, which is very, very handy because you can combine it with order flow trading. And as I was saying, this is my favorite combo of two trading indicators, favorite way of trading. The way I do it is that I open up a chart and look for significant zones in the chart with the volume profile indicator, and then around those significant zones, significant support and resistance zones, I trade with the order flow software. And this is one of the things that I'll teach you in this order flow course. So check it out. There's a video. It will explain everything more in detail. All right, so that's about that. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it, and I will be looking forward to seeing you next time in some next video or in our members area. So see you next time, and until then, happy trading.